our thoughts. So it helped for us to understand what the student midwife was thinking when she was doing her work. You will see from the work that's done on the website when we show you some of it, that the rules were very simple. We asked the student midwives to just do a picture, a poem, or write a note so we'd know what they were thinking. It didn't have to be presented in any particular format. We were very keen that they would do something, and we strongly encouraged creativity rather than narrative writing. So when you look at the website, that's the introduction there, the introduction to it. And you'll see some of the pictures that have been the thumbnails for the different categories that Marianne described there in her presentation. So we'll go through some of those in a minute. So you can just see when you go into the full picture of the website, you can see that. The picture that's there drawn at the top was done by one of our, she's now a 1-year qualified midwife. So she drew that picture as one of her learning logs, and we, again, you'll get to see that on the website. So in the About section, I'll just wait till it opens, we have detailed all of the different things that we did in relation to learning logs, how we supported the midwifery students, and how we helped them to prepare for the specialist placements, which was usually off-site in the maternity hospital. And one of the main reasons we did a lot of this work was from the report that had been done by Carolyn Begley in 2003 that had identified why student midwives didn't like to go on specialist placements, and how they felt out of their depth and away from what they were supposed to be doing, and how they didn't feel it was relevant. And from an experience point of view, our team knew that if we could help to facilitate the students in placement, it would help them to gain valuable learning. And so that was part of our original work and concept on this. We also had a significant interest in art and poetry and different methods to help support learning. So there was a few of us that were very interested in exploring that as well. So in order to help prepare the student midwives, we had an introductory day for the second year, which really focused on all of the different aspects of care that they would experience on their external placements to the maternity hospital. And we did a skills workshop. So again, we've detailed that there in the About section. We did a skills workshop, which just did the tasks and skills to help prepare people, like caring for people in a bed, caring for a male patient, toileting, catheters care, bed baths, oral care, things that you wouldn't normally be doing as a student midwife in order to help people understand what they'd be exposed to. We also did learning opportunities for all of the different specialist placements, and you'll see those detailed there, and there's an example of them, again, to help guide the student when they were on placement. So again, we won't go into the detail of them, but they're there for people to use and see, so they can have a look at them afterwards at their leisure. We also developed a questioning framework, and this was probably quite significant in that it was trying to help direct the students on what things that they could learn and know and understand at the end of their placement. And again, we have that there for people to have a read of and look at afterwards. So it was trying to link back medical and surgical and all the placements to midwifery, and vice versa. What would you do if somebody was pregnant? And then we did an introduction to the learning log. So this detailed, again, for the student midwives, what was expected of them during the placement, demonstrate links between professional practice and theory, use it as a means of demonstrating what they're learning, so they weren't going off into a specialist placement with no focus. So, and at the end of each placement, we requested that they submit their learning log. And in fairness to Marianne was exceptionally diligent in following up with all of the learning logs over the last number of years. So it's probably one of the main reasons why we have such an amazing repertoire of them gathered. So next, I'm just going to talk you through some of the logs, and we'll do a few examples. And we also have been joined by Shauna O'Dwyer, one of our third-year student midwives, who's come to read one of her own original works. So I'll come to Shauna in a couple of minutes. So the first one. So when you go into the different links, you can see that the poems are there, or their poetry or their artwork. So this is about cancer, the silent sea. Here I am, an empty shell, not my former self. Quiet whispers, little nudges, I knew I wasn't well. I lay in bed waiting the results that were to be, wishing, hoping, praying, God would just spare me. A masked face approaches, just emotion in her eyes, holding my hand in hers, telling me I was going to die. I battled long and hard, but life was not to be. Cancer just took over, even though I was only 53. So this was a poem that was written by one of our student midwives, Mary Nash, who is on a second year placement, and Mary's probably, I'd say, 8 or 10 years qualified now. So again, it shows the work. And then this note afterwards is just Mary's explanation of her poem, and they are again available for people to read and look at after the exhibition. So this next one that I'm going to show you is a drawing. We have some amazing artists that have drawn some fabulous pictures. So this was drawn by Cora Wrench, one of our, again, she's a graduate midwife, and this was from her gynae placement, and the painting was intended to depict the strength that she witnessed in women dealing with difficult situations and the greyness of their dire circumstances. So it's a beautiful piece of work. So this was one of the poems that was written, again, by one of our, she's now graduate midwives, she's Katy Mccann. She's working in Galway, I think now. She's abandoned us. So this is Blue by Katy Mccann, and it was a postnatal depression was the theme. He sleeps all day, he cries all night. Why can't I get this right? He smiles at me, I look back at him. Why can't I bear to grin? I wish he would stop crying. I wish I didn't feel like dying. I wish I didn't feel so blue. Blue hat, blue jumper, blue socks, blue tops, blue thoughts, make them stop. They all say, keep calm and carry on. They couldn't be any more wrong. I just want to sing a baby a song and stop these feelings so blue. So again, Katy has written a descriptive note about her learning from her mental health placement about postnatal depression, and she has written it from the perspective of a woman. And what we found is quite often that's how students have completed their learning logs, from the perspective of what they've learned from individual people on their placement. So this next log is quite stark when you look at it. And this was written by one of our graduate student midwives who's now a CMM in our postnatal wards. And when we saw this picture, we were quite obviously profoundly taken by it, because it was so stark. And the student midwife has written then her explanation of it. I drew this picture because during my placement, I met 2 women who'd had mastectomies. One was 51 and the other was 31. I thought it was very sad, and I couldn't imagine being in the situation, but also showed me how people handle different situations. But one of the things that really was intriguing for us was the idea behind her picture was that you would put it up under your chin and imagine what it would be like for you. And then she's written, but it didn't really work. But her picture in itself has worked massively, and it's really, really significant. So our next one. So this was another beautiful picture that was drawn by one of our midwifery students, now graduate as well, Isabella Bevel. So she was on the antenatal ward, and she was looking after a woman. And she's written her description. I won't go through it all, but she'd met a woman who had had a stillbirth, previous stillbirth at 30 weeks. And she's detailed all of her experience of caring with the woman. You can see it there. And what she felt was the experience taught her to empathize with the woman. And she has drawn the picture of the woman with a little piece of a jigsaw that has been flown away by a butterfly to represent the loss that this woman has felt, even though she's having another baby. So again, it was just a very poignant and impactful learning for that student midwife, and for us when we get them then to look at them. Now I'm going to hand you over to Shauna, our student midwife who's come today, and she's going to read her learning log. And this one doesn't appear on the website yet because it is one of the ones that has been done in the last very short time. So I'll hand you over to Shauna.
Thanks very much. My poem is called To the Woman That Lost. Introductions made, situation assessed, the flow of adrenaline, heart beating through your chest. The look of fear overcomes her as you look up and down, searching for a reason, sometimes never found. No loved ones close, so you try your best to comfort through gowns, masks and gloves, it's a test. A privileged position that is which we hold, to be with a woman as situations unfold. This moment in their lives they will never forget, the impact of your presence during their times of upset. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shauna. I think it's so much more powerful when you hear somebody reading their own words. So thank you, Shauna. We appreciate that you've come to do that today.
Thanks very much for having me.
So we have had quite a lot of mental health logs, and there's so many different categories, but some of them are just so insightful and inspiring when you read them. And I'm going to read you just this last one. So this was done by Danica Hickey, one of our just finished last Friday intern student midwives, hopefully to come back to work with us very soon. And Danica was supposed to be here with us today, but unfortunately she couldn't come. So we did want to share her work. So it's called Schizophrenia. I hear people in my head that I cannot see, thoughts in my mind that cannot be. They speak of me as if I'm not here, harsh and cruel words I cannot tend to bear. Shouting and screaming, they both are combined, destroying my thoughts, I'm out of my mind. They speak of foul things to lead me to harm, triggered in my head as a sound of an alarm. Lashing out at the people trying to help was never an urge until now that I felt. Excluding myself from the outside world, most of my days spent in a bowl curled. My eyes deceive me, playing their twisted games, tricked into believing I'm going insane, deprived from normality, uncontrolled moods, an illness in life that doesn't knock, only intrudes. So Danica wrote this amazing piece of work and did art as well. And this was based on her experience of looking after somebody or meeting somebody in their mental health placement. And it was from speaking to the young man who stood out to her, explaining what it was like to have a schizophrenic illness. So you'll see from the exhibition that there are other categories that we haven't had time to go through. We could spend the day here going through them all. There's the other categories that are there that we haven't touched on is putting myself in the shoes of others, the role of the nurse, which again really demonstrates the learning that the student midwives have had from working in nursing placements and that bond between the nursing and midwifery profession. There's also quite a number about dementia from care of the elderly placements, but that's mainly medical and surgical wards where predominantly elderly people are on the wards, and also some from community midwifery. So to finish up, I suppose like to say, mostly the midwifery students had no idea how amazing and impactful their work was, and how it showed us their learning from the specialist placements and made us realise how important it was to guide and direct them for it. We also used their learning logs to help us prepare other students for placement if there were things that they had done that we realised, gosh, we need to use this to help to prepare another midwifery student. And they're very, very emotional. Many times these logs have brought tears to my eyes of sadness, but mostly of pride for the wonderful midwifery students that we have supported on their midwifery journey in our team. So thank you.
Thank you, Bernadette. Thank you so much, Shauna and Bernadette, for talking us through and showing us some of the examples. I don't know how you're all feeling, and remember there's the chat facility there if you want to make some comments. But even, and I've seen all of these many times, they still give me a kind of shivers with just the insight. And you would never get that level of insight, I don't think, in a written piece of work. The art and the poems really just emphasize it hugely. So thank you so much for talking us through. And obviously you'll be able to look away to your heart's content at all the other pictures that are on the site subsequently. So now I'd like to introduce you to Professor Helen Phelan. Helen is the Professor of Arts Practice at the Irish World Academy of Music and Dance in the University of Limerick. She's a recipient of the Irish Research Council for work in the use of arts-based research methods. And she'd like to say a few words. So I'm hoping we have Helen present with us.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, hi, Helen. Nice to see you. Thank you.
Likewise, and I just feel so honored to have the opportunity to be with you all today and to share a few words on this extraordinarily powerful and moving project. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a singer, a musician, and I lecture and research here at the University of Limerick in the Irish World Academy of Music and Dance. And I was thinking, as I was looking at this project, of my own early experiences as an undergraduate student and how I was always trying to bring these different parts of myself together, the part that loved research and investigation and learning, and the part that loved music and creative expression. And so much of my own professional life has been about trying to develop ways to teach and to learn and to research, which draws on the incredible potential of the arts. And as I was looking through the website, it struck me that this is an excellent example of exactly that. It struck me so strongly that the contributors had the ability to be reflexive, to step back from their own experience and articulate that, to be affective, to be unafraid of acknowledging their own emotions and their feelings, and to be immensely creative, to draw on their visual intelligence, their poetic intelligence, their playful intelligence, to be able to share these experiences with others. And one of the things that really interests me about this kind of multidimensional sharing is that, of course, it opens up modes of intelligences which are sometimes absent from the way in which we do things in academia. You know, from the foundation of the university, we focused very much on a very narrow band of intelligence, primarily numeric and linguistic. And we've often neglected those other forms of intelligences, which are very much the bread and butter of dancers and musicians, and dare I say, midwives and nurses, you know, are more embodied intelligences, and the inclusion of these in academic learning through the integration of practices such as nursing and midwifery and the performing arts, it seems to me, has led to a huge deepening and expansion of what counts as intelligence. You know, we don't just celebrate the intelligence of our minds, we celebrate the intelligence of our hands and of our feet and of our eyes and our ears, and of course, the intelligence of our hearts. And this approach to learning and research reminds us, I think, as this website does so powerfully, that knowledge doesn't reside primarily in the library or the lab, even though these are very important tools for us, but of course it resides primarily in human experience. And of course, capturing, representing, analyzing human experience is no easy thing. And I think for this reason, learning has very often sidestepped the trickier aspects of human experiences, our feelings, both our emotional feelings and our physiological feelings. And we need new and innovative tools to represent those in our learning and on our research. And our research shows us again and again that creative expression, singing, dancing, painting, poetry, what we've seen today, that these are tools that are capable of representing and honoring these many forms of human intelligence and human experience. And it seems to me no coincidence that nurses and midwives and performing artists are often the leaders in pioneering these more innovative arts-based forms of work. In fact, one of the very first arts-based projects that I was involved in here at the University of Limerick was with a wonderful colleague, Maeve Barry, from the Department of Nursing and Midwifery, with some colleagues here at the Irish World Academy, who created a project called the Limerick Lullaby Project in partnership with the University Maternity Hospital in Limerick. And that work planted the seeds for the development of the PAR Team Research Cluster, which is coordinated by myself, by Dr. Sylvia Murphy from the Department of Nursing and Midwifery, and Professor Anne McFarlane from the Public and Patient Involvement Unit in the School of Medicine. And all of us came together because we have a shared interest in the inclusion of migrants in health research, but primarily we wanted to explore how could we use participatory and arts-based methods for involving people in the kind of work we do. And this website, I think, is an excellent example of how creative, reflexive, engaged responses almost do the most important things that all of us are meant to be doing as researchers and practitioners, which is never forgetting that it is the experience of the people that we engage with, which are at the heart of our work. Representing those creatively and ethically and responsibly is one of the ways in which we as researchers and as artists and as health practitioners can help give witness to those most important of human experiences, as we saw here so powerfully today, those critical moments of life and indeed of death. And it seems to me that finding ways in which we can share those with others, you know, especially at this time of pandemic when so many people have been going through those experiences alone, has never been more important. And if I could, just before I finish up, as I was thinking about and putting these few words together, I thought about a verse from one of my own favorite Irish poets, Evan Boland, who of course sadly passed away herself last year. In 1994, the same year that the Irish World Academy was created here at the University of Limerick, the National Maternity Hospital at Holles Street celebrated its centenary. And Evan Boland, I pulled out my copy here, if any of you are able to see it. She put together a special edition of her collection of poetry, which is called Night Feed, to mark that anniversary. And I was given this copy on the birth of my own son, and it contains some of my favorite lines of poetry in a poem called Domestic Interior. And I thought I might finish by sharing this with you, because it's a poem about giving witness. And in this poem, it's about a mother giving witness to her own experience of new motherhood. And the verse that I love starts, but there is a way of life that is its own witness. Put on the kettle, shut the blind. Home is a sleeping child, an open mind. And that, I think, in so many ways mirrors the work of this initiative. It provides witness to those quiet moments in our lives, and critically, it does so with an open mind, open to the lives of others as well as our own experience. And I'm so grateful for the invitation just to share these few thoughts with you today. And I hope that this could provide an opportunity for us all to continue this kind of sharing, and indeed for this initiative to continue to grow and to continue to give important witness. Thank you all so much.
Helen, thank you so much for those lovely words. I love the whole piece about the intelligences. I think you've summed up perfectly a lot of what we've kind of been feeling about it, but just haven't been able to put so eloquently. So thank you for that summary. And I think you've set us another challenge now of music, perhaps maybe introducing music or song to this repertoire of art and poetry. So I think we'll be up for taking that challenge, because we know that we have some musical students. Thank you so much. I'd like to progress now to the final kind of section before I sum up for you and introduce you to Grace Thomas. Grace is from across the water in Cardiff. She's the lead midwife for education and the professional head in the School of Healthcare Sciences in Cardiff University. She's also the Deputy Director of the World Health Organization Collaborating Centre for Midwifery Development. And Grace has very kindly agreed to officially launch this website and exhibition for us this afternoon. You're very welcome, Grace. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary, for your really kind words there. And thank you all for the really kind invitation. I'm just so delighted to be with you all today. And the first thing I want to say is just to echo Helen's wonderful words. You know, the way she's articulated about the intelligence around combining the arts and the science that we all experience as part of midwifery is just fantastic. And I want to say a huge congratulations to Mary, to Eileen, to Carol, and to the whole midwifery practice development unit at the University Maternity Hospital in Limerick for having such innovative insight to develop this arts project and getting to the point of this amazing website and the exhibition. But I also want to say a huge congratulations to the student midwives, who are now, many of them, qualified midwives, and just to say how fantastic you've been to embrace the project and to create MidSight inside the mind of student midwives. It really is so innovative. 3 years ago, I was privileged to be put in touch with Mary, and we had a discussion at that time about art in midwifery and the passion that we both felt for this. And then I was very fortunate to be able to visit you in Limerick. In fact, it was just before lockdown for the Research and Innovation Conference. And I saw at that conference the presentation on the MidSight project, and I was absolutely amazed by it. And I know that at that time you were really hoping to plan an exhibition. And gosh, it would have been absolutely wonderful if I was with you today in Limerick in person, and for you all to be standing there looking at these pieces of art. But in fact, the pandemic has done something for us all that has made us take advantage of opportunities, and having an online exhibition and this website, the MidSight website, is going to reach so many more people. And I think it's something that you must be really, really proud of. And I've seen already the presence on Twitter, and I hope that many, many, many people will be inspired by your exhibition. So I visited MidSight yesterday, and I looked at and I read each student's learning log. And I have to tell you, I'm blown away by it. So what did I see there? Well, I saw images and words that are poignant. I saw happy and sad words. I saw some very emotional entries that brought tears to my eyes. I saw some challenging entries. I saw very sensitive work. I saw caring and I saw thoughtful work. And every single piece that I looked at, I would say I saw compassion. And, you know, to me, compassion in midwifery and compassion in all healthcare is the absolute key and the core of our very being. And Professor Michael West talks about compassionate leadership. And some of the facets of compassionate leadership are about listening and listening with fascination. I believe that's what these students have done. They've listened, not just with their ears, but they've looked with their eyes, they've felt with their hands, and they've just taken in their surroundings when they've been on these specialist placements. They've listened with fascination, and then they've empathized, and empathy is just a core of compassion, and they've understood. And that is something that is so, so important in midwifery practice as then we develop and we move forward. All of the students and the newly qualified and longer qualified midwives now, you know, remember that these are key skills. And I just want to commend you for your amazing work. You're all very special. You're very talented. I mean, some of the drawings really are just incredible, and the poetry really moved me. In the words, just to finish, of, I believe my pronunciation isn't great, but it's a Jean Cocteau, art is a marriage of the conscious and the unconscious. And what you've done here is to share both your conscious and your unconscious reflections with us in a very open and honest way through your art and your poetry. And you've made us all think. So thank you for that. Thank you all for the privilege of being able to share with you today. And I'm absolutely honoured to officially launch MidSight, Inside the Mind of Student Midwives, the exhibition. Well done, everybody.
Ray, thank you so much for spending the time, taking the time to look at the site, but also to be here with us today to officially launch it. We're extremely grateful to you and for your insights and summary. And also, to a certain extent, did we need the work validated? Not really, but you've actually, you've really kind of reinforced what we kind of knew all along. We knew that we had something really special and that our student midwives are really, really something special and will be amazing practitioners in the future. So thank you so much for that, those beautiful words for the launch. So before we finish, just a couple of things. The future for us is we will be updating the website. We're going to let it run a little while now in the next kind of month, 6 weeks or so that people get an opportunity to see what's there and to comment and tweet during that time. And we have literally hundreds of logs, so we have another lot kind of almost ready to go, so we will be updating the website as we go ahead. We're also looking at how we can use this in other placements now that we have a new curriculum and the whole focus on the specialist has changed, and we've even been talking just about the value of this work in relation to students' experiences with COVID. in the last year, 18 months. So we kind of feel that will be another very interesting theme to pursue. And as I say, Helen's words with the music has given us another little thread now that we may well pursue. One of the team is embarking on an interpretive descriptive research study on the experiences of student midwives completing learning logs, and that is being commenced at the moment. So again, we'll have some more kind of academic background as well, which is important for these things. And as we've said, today is our launch. And we're going to leave you with some media links. For those of you who may not have seen on Twitter or Instagram, and the website address is here in the presentation, that we'll just move on to for the media links. That's it, perfect, thank you. We're going to leave that up for you. And there's also a contact email there for Carol, who's been absolutely phenomenal in linking and coordinating this launch for the team and for the students today. And we'd like to really extend our extreme gratitude to Carol for all the work that she's done. She's been phenomenal. So, and poor old Carol now has, she's the centre point of contact. We're justifying it with I'm giving her time for her project, so she's got to earn her living. So that's your contact person if you have got any questions. There's been lots of very positive comments, and thank you all so much for putting those in. People are saying how powerful it is, and I seem to be very excited about the initiative, as were we. So thank you so much for putting in those comments, and we hope that you will continue to tweet and advertise now what you've seen here today and what you will be looking at, and share it with your colleagues. And we hope that it will help the preparation of future students. There may be some little ideas there, or some things that you could come back to us and suggest, you know, ask us, had we thought about, because we're always learning and we're always very open to any suggestions. Thank you everybody so much for joining us this afternoon. It's been an absolute pleasure to spend the time with you and to share this very exciting website with you. Thank you everybody, and good afternoon.